If you can give a brief summary about the journey, like where did it all start?
Figured, you know what, I might as well take the onus and make my work myself and be credited for it for me instead of that credit going to someone else because I'm working under them. I feel that it's very easy for people to get very comfortable in the positions they are in, and we have come to a point in our generation where we're shedding those concepts, and we are ready to take on a more risky leap for the sake of our passions and our careers.
Hi Shahdia, how are you doing?
Good, how are you? Thank you so much for inviting me for your interesting talk show.
No worries, and I'm doing fine, and yeah, it's a pleasure having you on the show. So now Shahdia, tell us about yourself. Define yourself in 3 types of characteristics. Like, how would you define yourself?
As an artist and as a designer, I would say that one of my biggest characteristics is that I'm very detail oriented. I enjoy having to put in a lot of intricacy into my work. And the other thing I would say is that I'm also very, self-critical as well, which I think is a very familiar concept for most artists. I don't think you'll ever find an artist who is not the most critical about their own work as anyone out there. And I think the third aspect about myself, I would say, is that I like to apply a sense of humor to my work to an extent, but I also try as much as possible to do as much research, and I enjoy research into adding a little bit more depth in terms of the story behind my work. So I guess those 3 things would more or less define the kind of pathway I go through exploring different things in my art.
Lovely, Shahdia. Now tell me, what do you do professionally?
Professionally, I am a chartered architect, so I'm qualified in terms of the design and construction of interiors and exteriors. But at the same time, I'm also an artist. I practiced different disciplines of art and medium, and I recently started up my own studio, Seni Studios. So in that, I kind of combine both aspects of my current career, both professional career as well as my more passion-related career, together as one. So sometimes I try to work on projects that are strictly art-based, strictly design-based, and some are then strictly architecture-based. And then for more personal exploration, I try to see if I can combine the 2 together at some point, or even try to explore newer skills and newer methods and mediums of art at the same time. So my studio kind of encompasses all that. And it's been really great to kind of explore that end without having to deal with the kind of stress that comes with being trapped in a 9-to-5, so to speak, which I think most creatives feel the pinch in that way, where they feel very restricted in terms of their design and their creativity and their flow. And so I'm happy that in terms of my professional and passion based career, that I've managed to find a middle ground, so to say.
First of all, I respect the fact that, as you mentioned, you left the whole 9-to-5 life and you wanted to focus in a way on your own business. So now you gave us an idea like how it is in the studio you work at. But if you could just simplify in pros and cons, I know you already mentioned it, but simplify in pros and cons, how is it working at the studio and leaving that 9-to-5 life?
If I was to say leaving that 9-to-5 life, I think the biggest thing you would kind of miss is the presence of other people around you and working together. When it comes to having your own studio and having your own career in that sense, it does get a bit lonely up there. But at the same time, you have the freedom and the time to kind of make your own schedules, take projects as you see wish, even refuse certain projects that you feel might not actually, merge with your philosophy or ethos. So that flexibility is there. But I think one of the biggest challenges that comes with quitting a 9 to 5 and doing your own thing is you have to take on all the roles of your own business administrator, your own social media content creation, your own accountant, your own time manager. So that kind of multiple set of roles that is so easy to kind of, get people to do those things for when you work at a 9 to 5. But then when it comes to your own studio, it's that challenge at handling those multiple roles is definitely tough. And it's when you start off, it's definitely, you think, this is not going to work out. I don't think I can do this. But the more you kind of go through those setbacks, and the more you kind of talk to people, talk to others who are in the same sort of situation and same career path, it gets a little better, I would say.
Lovely. And like you said, the challenges are like numerous, but like it becomes from leaving the 9 to 5 to becoming more of a 24/7 challenge, if I can say. So now I want to know, like, let's talk more about your art style. How would you define the type of art you experiment with and the type of art you focus on? Because I saw your social media page on Instagram, and there's like a different variety of types of content and types of art. So talk to us more about that.
For a long time, I tried to find my own, signature niche type of work, be it design or even art, so that, if I was to do purely botanical art or purely, human figures, I would only stick to that and be known exactly for that. So I had a lot of personal sort of internal clashes, trying to figure out who I am and what I am when it comes to which niche I want to, specialize in. So I realized that when it came to exploring, and then the whole journey of trying out different things in different mediums, different styles, was in itself its own style, in a way. So I was able to explore more in that sense, and recently I started exploring the design of thread painting. Basically, it's embroidery, but taking it to a level of more artistic capacity. And I realized that it kind of encompassed all those characteristics I mentioned about being detail-oriented, about being research-based, about kind of breaking out into something different but expressive at the same time. And I realized that was a kind of niche that I could also, apply. But at the same time, I really enjoy doing, acrylic paint styles. I was influenced a lot by Van Gogh, his early work. I studied him extensively for my studies, as in my A-levels as well. So I identified a lot with his style of his method of how he used color and how he used it in a way where you could differentiate each color on a canvas, but when you looked at it in a whole, it all kind of merged into like a singular painting. So that kind of concept I became quite attached to, and I apply that quite a bit in my work as well. In whatever range or whatever medium I use, that style is always there. So I would say that would probably explain it the best in that way. And I think from the response I've been getting in terms of my social media and whatever feedback I've been getting, I feel like I'm able to explore thread painting a little bit more now, to where I can actually overlap some of my previous styles in terms of acrylics or watercolor or even digital work into it, and kind of give it the potential to kind of go beyond the basic norms of what it's known for.
So now I'm really glad that you took on a different medium and that you experimented, and it actually came out very positive for you. So now I have a question that came to my mind. A lot of us like there's a point of time where as a creative, like content creator or an artist, we focus more on likes and followers and all that. So in a way, like you took something that I feel it wasn't that popular, threading, because usually now the common like trend is either graphic designing or like, you know, mural, and like that's good, you know, there's nothing wrong with like experimenting with those type of things. But you were the first person in a way who I saw like who had a huge social media presence, at the same time tried threading. So did at one point did you like thought like, you know, I don't care about the algorithm and all that, I just want to do what I like talk to us about that.
Yeah, so when I first put out a piece using thread painting and embroidery, the initial feedback I got was not surprising, but at the same time a little disappointing, in the sense where a lot of people associated it with, you know, aging, or, you know, being, you know, older than what you're supposed to be, or, you know, just stereotypical like female, you know, stay-at-home household sort of scenarios. So that was a little disappointing, but at the same time it was quite encouraging in a way, where it kind of made me want to keep going at it and kind of show people that, you know, it's not just a hobby that grandmothers take up. You know, there's so much more potential to it that you can like break through in a completely contemporary way as well. And I'm hoping to do that in a larger scale, so fingers crossed I can do that. And that's true what you said. People really sometimes do end up working for the likes and for the algorithm. And for a long time, I did do that as well, as in the sense that there was a certain level of anxiety associated with how much feedback and how much positive, comments you'd be getting on something that you'd put up. And I realized that there's actually no point doing that, because in the end, your work needs to represent what you want to do at that time, and it should be based on your own personal experience and your own personal timing, and it shouldn't be timed to, you know, how your grid comes out and, you know, what time you're supposed to post at which part of the day, you know. So those kind of external factors, when they come into play, it kind of dilutes the meaning of your own work, you know, like why are you doing this in the end? So I think it's very important for even artists who are starting off based on a social media platform to kind of understand that it's just a vehicle for you to put your work out there and to get people to kind of notice you and your work primarily, before it becomes about them or the people or, you know, social media users. So I think that's kind of a big thing for most artists on digital platforms to kind of keep an eye on, because in the end it's actually great for your own mental health as well, and you end up producing work that is fueled by a higher purpose instead of something that is regimented by popularity or likes even.
So now I want to ask, like, what exactly inspired you to take the path of art? Even though being a chartered, like you said, like in your previous profession, you were a chartered architect. So that also started off from a passion of art itself. So talk to us, like, what inspired you? Talk to us, like, if you can give a brief summary about the journey, like, where did it all start and who inspired you?
If I was to start off, I would say, stereotypically, as most would, of course, say, as a young child itself, I was very much inclined towards the arts. My parents were very instrumental in allowing me to express myself in that way, where, at one point they just let me draw on the walls itself, because, end of the day, you can always paint over a wall, but you can't get back that sort of feeling of being able to express yourself at that age. So that was extremely instrumental, and it ended up kind of pushing me towards that path at that point itself. After that, I think the next biggest inspiration and the next biggest influence in terms of art would be that I joined into an art school at around age 12. And my art teacher at that time, Miss Shyamala Pinto Jayawardena, she was one of the more unorthodox art teachers, I would say. And she helped me sort of explore, because I came in with a very orthodox view of how art should be, how things should look and how things should, feel, or how they should be colored and things like that. So she helped me kind of break the mold and exploit in a much more authentic manner, I would say. And she helped me see the potential in having art in my life and in my career later on as well. So I would say she was also one of the biggest influences that helped me come up to this point. In terms of coming up with a career that kind of entwined with it, I would say that the fact that I also have a characteristic that is logic based at the same time as well as being artistic, I figured architecture was the best way to go, where it would just be an incredible marriage of those two characters together. What I didn't think at that time was that the more you get into the commercial aspect of it, the more you have to kind of compromise on the creativity a little bit, where things like budgets, client requirements, all that come in. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the profession and the field as such. There are some incredible architects out there, but you need to be invested in it like 100%, and you need to kind of give up a little bit of yourself in that way to emerge successful. And I don't think I was ready to do that, because I felt when I was in the hiatus of my architecture career that I felt the least creative at the same time. I ended up not having time at all to explore my art, and that ended up affecting me quite a bit, which was also one of the biggest pushes into me actually quitting and starting my own thing, because I figured, what, I might as well take the onus and make my work myself and be credited for it for me, instead of that credit going to someone else because I'm working under them. So that would probably be the most brief I can go for.
I admire that it took a lot of guts to actually like you said, you had at the top, during the top of your previous job run, you felt like you were not happy, and that's actually very interesting. So I want to know what exactly was that click, because when someone's doing very well at their job, usually some people tend to stay, but then what exactly happened that you were I just want to leave this and go to another path? What exactly was that that click? What was it?
I would say being in that corporate environment, and you see people who have been committed to the job for 15 years, 20 years, and it just hit me that do I really want to go this same way for that many years before I get there, or can I do something different? Can I take it on for myself instead? So that was kind of a wake-up call, I would say. And having the other thing would be that having friends as well who are enterprising and who have taken the leap themselves, it was definitely inspiring to see that, and it made me feel confident that I could definitely do that myself. So I feel that it's very easy for people to get very comfortable in the positions they are in. And we have come to a point in our generation where we're shedding those concepts, and we are ready to take on a more risky leap for the sake of our passions and our careers. So yeah.
I admire the fact that that you took a different path, and I really respect it. And like you said, people get really comfortable with the whole 9 to 5 and getting the salary at the end of the month. So end of the day, do what you like. And I'm just glad that in a way you took that leap and you took a different direction to your life, because it takes a lot of guts to actually do that. So now let's talk about how is the pandemic affecting you and your studio.
I when I first started up my studio, very tentatively at that time, it was December 2019. I had given in my notice, and a couple of months later, the pandemic hit. So a lot of the projects I had ongoing, a lot of the proposals I had going, they all came to a grinding halt, because no one had ever encountered anything like this. So it was understandable that everyone would, take a step back and completely reevaluate what they're investing in, what they want to, prioritize. So at the start of it affected me quite a lot. It was a bit of a, spiral where, you're stuck at home and all you can think about is the fact that you can't predict as to when your next salary or when your next, payment is coming in. So at that time, it was more of a financial motivator more than anything else. But then because of the time that you had in your hands during the lockdown, you had nothing to do other than just think about this, right? So I figured, if there is time on my hands to figure my studio out, then I might as well just be proactive about it. So I set about basically researching and trying to teach myself how to build my own website for my studio, because I figured if I had something concrete, that people can see and people can look at and kind of realize that there is, work like this, there is a studio like this, that I wouldn't just be talking to thin air, that it would be more tangible and more realized. So doing that helped me kind of figure out the pathway of setting up my own studio and coming to terms with the new way of life. And with putting that out, I realized there were still a lot of people who wanted to invest their efforts in my art. So it was new and surprising and very refreshing at the same time.
So in a way, this pandemic helped you reinvent your business. I think even in a way, even our personalities, because it made us focus on things that, where we were lacking. Like you said, maybe in a way, you felt the website needed to be there, then it attracted more clients, and in a way also it helped with the business. So now, in general, from the people you have met in the past, you don't have to mention any names, what's one of the worst things you heard as an artist, or working with different types of clients?
First of all, I have met some incredible clients who have been so supportive and so open to my work and interpretation of whatever their requirements are. In terms of some of the more unsavory things that that come around as an artist, I think the biggest one is can you do this for free, and we'll pay you with exposure. So exposure really doesn't do much. I can do my own exposure for myself. It's so if you are really a sincere patron of the arts and design circle in the country, I think you would respect that as well at the same time. By sort of identifying the effort that an artist has put into their work. So that is probably one. I think the second, the most common thing I hear is, in terms of pricing, why does it have to be that expensive? The thing is, you're not just paying for, just hours work or whatever. You're paying for years and years of accumulated experience and setbacks and challenges that you have gone through to come to this point, to get to this style and to this level and quality of work. So it's a very common question. Yeah, it's understandable for people who don't know the field that well to feel those questions, but it's understandable. But at the same time, I think there should be more room for understanding and being open to as to the reasons behind that kind of compensation. So I think those two are probably the most common sort of feedback you can get as an artist, especially if you're on social media as well.
Now, what is next for Shahdia? Any collaborations in the future? What's next for you?
Right now, I mean, considering COVID, I would definitely love to have an exhibition where I would be able to exhibit my exploration and a further step taken for embroidery along with the other mediums of art. That's one. And I think the second, in terms of collaborations, I'm really happy to be a part of an animation team and studio for which we're doing stop motion for key female characters in Sri Lanka. And it has the potential to become part of a much larger conversation. So I'm really happy to be a part of that collaboration with other creatives.
And now we're coming to the end of this show. So any words of advice for those watching, like those up and coming artists or anyone who's watching?
I would say the biggest piece of advice I can give if you are starting off on a social media platform is to not be discouraged by the feedback, the initial level of circulation of your work that it comes to. And don't take the numbers and the graphs into account, but keep producing as you see fit. I think the other thing I would say is to, at an early stage itself, don't restrict yourself to one style or one medium. I think it's the best thing in the world to explore a little bit more what else is around you and see what you can do to kind of bring a higher purpose into your work through your artistic exploration and your own philosophy as well.
Thank you for the great advice, Shahdia, and it was a pleasure having you on this show. I had a very insightful conversation with you, and I hope those watching also can learn something from this. So thank you again, Shahdia, for coming to this show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me onto this. I had a really great time as well.
No worries.